Coming to you live from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios, it's the Cigar Pulpit.
Hello everybody and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and I am coming to you from inside the Ice Tent of Love for the first time of the 2023-2024 season. And, I'll get to that in a minute. But on the line, we have our guest for this episode. We have Luke, also known as My 635mm on Instagram. How you doing, buddy?
Very good, very good. Hello to all parishioners listening from America's Hat, Canada.
America's Hat. So now you don't have to apologize the whole episode, okay? I don't know what you're gonna say. You're not offending me, so just
perhaps just a general apology right at the start, and
we'll call it at that.
We'll just go into the show.
We'll call it at that. So,
right on.
Well, anyway, so I've got our friend from Canada, Luke, on the phone, and we're going to be discussing all kinds of random shit. But first, it's smoker's choice, because it's hard to coordinate cigars with a guy that's, like, in a different country. So, what are you smoking there, Luke?
I got it's a Oliva V, the 135. I have never tried that over here. Hard to come by, but our good friend over there at Riverman Cigar, Dan the Man, hooked me up when I was down there, and I'm going to give that a go.
There you go. And I went for an old standby because, quite frankly, I haven't had hardly any cigars at all this weekend. It's been a long, I don't mean to make it sound like it was a bad weekend. It was a great weekend with my son, but I had an extended weekend with my son, so that prevented a lot of cigar smoking. So I'm having a Perdomo Habano Sungrown in the Churchill. I went with the Churchill today. So it says Nicaraguan Puro. Don't know the sizing on it, but it's one of my go-tos. So I'm going to...
Radio.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and prep this. And, just for the listener's sake, Luke is joining me by phone. And so the cutting and lighting portion might be a little interesting because he's having to hold the phone, obviously. So we'll probably have to let him set that down.
The wind is up here.
The wind is up.
The wind is up pretty substantial, yeah, and I live out in the field. So,
so that's...
I go to speaker.
Part of the reason why I put up the Ice Tent of Love today was the wind. But again, we'll get to that in a minute. First, it's time to cut I'm anxious for the cigar. I'm dying for the cigar. So it's time to cut the cigar. The official cutting is brought to you by Dan the Man Ponder over there at Riverman Cigar Company. And Luke, I'm going to let you take it away because, you spent some time at Riverman while you were in town for Pulpit Fest. And, I know you have some thoughts about the shop.
I do. Anyone that hasn't been there before, they should try it out. It's a lounge atmosphere. It's chill. It's Dan and Cindy are it's like home, man. They're like really chilled out and really nice people. Good conversation. Beer was flowing. The drinks are flowing, and I suggest Dan hooked me up with a bunch of cigars to review, which is super cool of him. And I intend to do that in the near future. And just check it out if you're nearby. Crestwood. What do you say? I don't know the area very well.
Crestwood, Missouri. So it's
10 minutes out of St. Louis, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's a suburb of St. Louis. I mean, you're maybe, I don't know, half an hour. Not even that, depending on if you hit the highway. You're in the county. So you're just out of the city, you're in the county, but yeah, I mean, to get to downtown, 15, 20 minutes if you take the highway. So it's not like it's far out or anything like that. It's a nice, comfortable atmosphere for you to sit and have some cigars. And it's like your friend's, clubhouse kind of, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. More friends home than lounge, just like,
for sure.
Like being at home,
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you're not in the St. Louis area, Dan does. I got my D words mixed up. Dan does do mail. Boy, that's 3 of them in a row. Dan does do mail order. So if you are wanting to support a brick and mortar shop, but you're not in the St. Louis area, you can always give Dan or Miss Cindy a call over there at Riverbend Cigar Company. Place your order and get some cigars sent to you right away. Which, by the way, they should be getting that limited edition Aladino Sumatra here. If they haven't gotten it already, they should be getting it very soon. So if you're looking for a place that has those, you can always call up Dan and Cindy and get some of those shipped to you if you're wanting to try that.
Yeah.
And you should want to try that. It's very good.
And my suggestion is, if you don't know the area, don't use Waze to get there, because you'll end up in a demilitarized zone of St. Louis, known as East St. Louis.
Yes,
which is quite interesting little
yeah.
Little spot, little sightseeing there. You know what I mean?
You and Trent both made the trip through East St. Louis during Pulpit Fest this year, which we'll touch on that in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and cut the cigar. So, like I said, I am dying to get this thing cut and going because it has been a weekend without, and by God, I want.
You're getting ready for Florida, aren't you?
I am. So yes, guys, this episode is going to drop on Tuesday, and by the time this drops, I will be wheels up and I will be flying to Florida, and so it's one of those things where I'm kind of getting ahead of the game here. But I did want to make an announcement early in the episode. Thank you for reminding me, Luke. So Wednesday, October the 18th, from 4 until 8 p.m., Mickey Peg of All Saints Cigars will be at Ash and Ale Lounge in Palm Coast, Florida. So Wednesday evening, we have Mickey Peg, All Saints Cigars. That got pinned down and scheduled. Then Thursday, from I think 1:30 to 5 in the afternoon, that's when Michael Herklotz of Ferriotego is going to be at the Ash and Ale Lounge in Palm Coast, Florida. And then I don't know if he's popping in just to say hi to me, or if he's popping in to do a little bit of meet and greet, maybe an unofficial kind of meet and greet situation. But Renee from Villiger Cigars, Renee Castaneda from Villiger Cigars is going to be popping in, I think somewhere around 3-ish. I think that's what he and I were emailing back and forth. So, guys, in 2 days at Ash and Ale Lounge, you're going to have Mickey Peg, you're going to have Michael Herklotz, and you're going to have Renee Castaneda from Villiger Cigars. So, it's the place to be. So, if you're in Florida, swing on up, say hey. I'm calling this the revival of the Traveling Freak Show and Cigar Evangelical Revival. So yeah, I'm bringing the Freak Show back together here. So make sure you pop by Ash and Ale and see me on the first trip of the Freak Show.
Nice. Now, can you see with your demographics for your show? Do you see how many people by state or by region of state, by county, or just
I can general? See states the most I can drill it down to. I can't go like city or county or anything like that. But I know that there's downloads in Florida. I know there's people that listen in Florida. So, guys, Florida's not, I don't think it's huge. I mean, look, if you're going from the southern tip to the northern edge, that can be a little bit of a drive. But like if you're just popping across, I mean, I know Ken keeps telling me that he's only 3 hours from Tampa. He's about an hour to an hour and a half from Orlando, depending upon, where you're coming. Like if you're coming from the extreme west side of Orlando or the east side, he's a handful of hours from Miami, relatively close.
I think he said an hour from Jacksonville or something like that.
Yeah, hour from Jacksonville, 30 minutes from Daytona. I mean, come on, guys. You make a day of it. Come on. Take the day off work. Come out. Hang out with Mickey Peg. Hang out with Michael Herklotz. Say hi to Renee. Say hi to me. I mean, it'll be a fun time. You're going to enjoy it. So, cold draw on our cigars here. So, again, I have the Perdomo. And The Perdomo is. I've smoked the hell out of these, so I know this one really, really well. It's a very earthy kind of, cold draw on the Perdomo there. What about you with the Oliva?
Just like grassy notes, like pretty mild, cedar boxy, grassy notes. It's kind of a cool looking stick. It's got almost a tapered rocket-like appearance. It's hard to explain. It's usually like a Figurado. They taper, but within a certain amount of time, you kind of burn through that. You get into diameter. This thing is just slowly tapers for like inches. It's cool looking.
Here's the sad part. If that's the one that they put out, is that out of the CRA pack or is that out of?
Yeah, it was. I think it's available in general.
I was going to say, I think I may have gotten one of those at one point when it was available just in like a 10-pack or a 10-count box. And I think the sad part is, dude, I may actually have it inside. I don't think I've smoked it yet. So we could have coordinated cigars.
We could have.
Son of a bitch. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
It's all right. It's all right. That would have been a lot. Sorry. See? Now you have an apology. Anyway, but no, it's all right. I mean, it's one of those things that we didn't know, and how could we have known? If we maybe would have talked, but whatever, we didn't. So, heaven forbid there be show prep.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. It's a whirlwind of awesome.
Yeah, so while you cutting light here, I'm gonna throw you under the bus for a moment, and okay. Luke's been a little stressed. He's been a little stressed, wondering what to talk about on this episode because he's like, what are we going to talk about? And I think the idea of just coming onto the show has kind of had him a little stressed. But then on top of it, wondering what we're going to talk about, and he's asking me like, do I need to prep this? Do I need to prep that? And it's just, people tend to think that
a little nervous, but
people tend to think that like I have this thing like. Down. This is so much by the seat of your pants. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, just a little nervous. I it's strange to hear your own voice, if that makes any sense. So listening to this tomorrow or whenever it airs.
Oh, I know.
I'm always surprised how deep my voice is.
You do have a deep voice.
Never used to that.
Yeah.
Never used to it.
But see, I get it. When it first started and I would go back, when I actually would go back and listen to these things, it was weird to hear my own voice. Now, I just throw them out in the world and let them just languish and do whatever they're going to do. So, I've kind of given up on going back and listening to my own stuff. So, it's okay. But
you've got it down to science.
You what now?
You've got it down to science, no doubt.
It's down to something. I don't know if it's a science. We'll say it's a science. It could be just a, assembly line at this point. But whatever. We've got it down. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Luke, again, he's on Instagram as MySticks35mm. And Luke does a number of cigar reviews on the regular. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your cigar reviews and the process that you go through in doing those because I think they're fascinating. I think it's interesting that you're using Instagram as your delivery method for those because you and I were talking about it just the other day and there was a limitation that I didn't even realize, which we'll get into that in a second. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, and you brought up that it's windy, up there in America's Hat. And I talked about my tent, and I wanted to talk about, smoking conditions in bad weather and kind of, what you do and what I have done. And, we'll kind of just talk about prepping for wintertime. So anyway, in terms of your reviews, yeah. I know you were on before. I'm sure I probably asked, but just for review and reflection time for a second, how did you get going with those? And what made you decide Instagram was the delivery method you wanted to use for that?
Yeah, so the whole review thing, I kind of did reviews on my own. I was taking notes. It started as a beginner. I mean, everyone's a reviewer when it comes down to it, right? Whether you something as simple as I like it or I don't like it.
For
or
sure.
this is toasty, this is not toasty. It just depends how in depth you go into it, how your palate is, how developed your palate is. And I just was into it for personal hobby. And we were sitting with the boys. We go fishing every year in May. Obviously, Joe and my brother-in-law and his brother. We go fishing every year in Florida, and we do a lot of cigar smoking on top of that. So I just kind of started this review page on Instagram and made it private so just Joe could see it. And I chose it. Instagram is pretty much a more picture-based, photography-based social media. So used that, got about 10 to 15 deep, and then kind of just released it. Try to keep the same. I'm very obviously consistent and visually. So like obviously when you open the page up, you're going to see that it's essentially the same photo all the way down of every review. But
I like how you start out with the almost tri photo of the cigar. You have the it's almost like a mugshot. You've got the side profiles, and then you've got the straight on, direct shot of the cigar. That way you can see the whole band essentially.
Yeah, you get to view the band. You get a view of there's deviations of veins or whatever. Visually, yeah. And then I do a close up of the band, a close up of the foot, and a close up of the wrapper, and then just write it up. I go right from the basics. What's the cigar? What's the components of cigar? What are they? Where are they from? Anything's interesting about them, whether they're Sungrown or whatever. And then initial qualities of the cigar, and then go into what toasting it. And here we go.
Yeah.
Try to get through it. And I had to change my review to more like a general based review, right? Some reviewers get a little wild with their choice of language, and it might be true, but that might be what they're tasting. We kind of try to make it general so that I'm not going to tell you that something's sweet and tasty like a Popeye cigarette that that I had as a child or whatever. It's just more like whether it's a clinical sugar or whether it's a more earthy sugar or a honey or whatever. Like you try to get general so that if someone's my reason for doing it too is that I would love for people to smoke while reading the review, and if it kind of hits home and they have my palate and they enjoy it. If they don't have my palate, then I've read plenty of reviews where it's just not working. It just doesn't make sense. Their palate's not similar to mine, and it's just essentially you kind of pick your reviewers that you enjoy and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the eye of the beholder, right? It's everyone's got a very distinct different palate.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've got guys that I follow that I'm like, okay, they have a similar palate to mine, so I'll listen to their reviews. I've got guys that I follow or at least see their stuff, and I'm like, their palate and mine are night and day different. And so if he says he likes this cigar, I'll try it, but there's a good chance I'm not going to dig it nearly as much as he does. And vice versa. If he hates it, then it's like, well, okay, that might be something I like. But
yeah.
And
the variety of the fact of the matter is that every cigar, whether by year, by crop, by box, by aging, whatever, they're very different. So sometimes you'll smoke a cigar and you're reading a review and you're like, what is this guy thinking? There's just no way in hell that this thing is even close to earthy. Well, maybe it was. Maybe that's a 2021 model, and here we are. You're smoking a 23, or you're smoking tobacco out of the field or whatever. There's that variety as well. That part of the equation.
For sure. I know a lot of manufacturers try to replicate the blend, with tweaks every year, but to your point, I mean, that's difficult. That's not something that can be necessarily done exactly every time. And so you might end up with some
that's part of the fun too.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun too, right? Like I think you discussed it a couple episodes ago, but like a wine, getting a wine out of a vineyard in Bordeaux, France, and you've tried the 2016 or whatever, and then the 2018 is like just night and day. It's the same grape. It's the same. Obviously they blend differently, but it's just That's
Yeah,
the way
but
life works, or it's the chaos of nature.
yeah, I would say one year you may have more rain than another. You may have more. There's all kinds of different. Maybe it was sunny late into June, whereas the year before it started raining by mid-June. I mean, it's just there's all
Oh yeah,
kinds of things that can happen that would, make subtle
all the
little.
way down.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
I mean,
all the way down the line.
but I do like the fact that you use the general terms for flavor notes in your reviews because, like you're saying, some people are like, oh, I don't get, I get sweet. I don't necessarily get, bubble gum from it, but I get sweet from it, whereas if you're using the more elaborate, phrasing, I guess I'll say, you're right. There might be people that are like reaching for those descriptives, and it's like I'm not getting that. Whereas if you're saying I get earth, I get spice, I get this, then guys will be a little bit more inclined to agree, or at the very least be able to find that. I think that's the thing. You're hitting the outer part of like a flavor wheel instead of driving it down deep and getting cinnamon Chinese
very
pea
basic
pods.
roadmap.
Yeah.
Yes, very basic roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
You try like the term pepper for me. I rarely taste black pepper. If you like eat a piece of salami or something that has little peppercorns in it, you've eaten a peppercorn.
Yeah.
That's pepper. I've rarely tasted pepper or black pepper in a cigar. Pepper is usually for me something that comes out of something. So you get like a pepperness out of a cinnamon, like that kind of burning pepper out of a cinnamon heart or like a big red gum, that kind of thing. Or you get even a strong licorice has a pepper value to it, like where the pepper is more or less a byproduct of a baker's spice or whatever it may be. But
well, and that's
the term black pepper is
no, and that's interesting that you say that because I've never professed to be like an absolute expert. Like I've never said like, oh my God, I've got this palate, I can pick out everything.
Nick, you're getting there, buddy. You're getting there. You've come a long way, man.
I mean, from the get-go, I've said this is a novice's journey, but I get pepper a lot on the cigars, specifically on retrohales and things of that nature. But I find it interesting that you're pointing this out because it could be one of those things where maybe I'm getting, a very strong like either cinnamon or licorice or some other, component that maybe my brain is not identifying as that. It's just identifying as the pepper. And that's what I'm going with. When in reality, maybe it is just like something within the general wheelhouse of that, but not exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely your tongue is telling your brain that it's peppery, right? So even people like to say they have like a cayenne type of pepper burn. That's common. You get like once you read into it more, I'm sure you will now. Is that's just one small thing. When you get into sweet value, same thing. You're getting in. Is it clinically kind of like that powdered sugar, like clinical sweetness, or does it go all the way to something richer and darker and a raw sugar than I don't know if you've done the creme brulee before. I use that one a lot.
Yeah.
Vanilla, like a burnt vanilla, burnt toasted sugar.
Okay.
But then as far as the Instagram, the problem with Instagram is that you're limited on the amount of words you can put in a post.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten good at it where sometimes I have to remove some, but I forget how many words it is, but you're limited to the amount of you can post, so it probably keeps it more interesting to my people who read it because I can get pretty winded.
I was gonna say you got to keep it tight, which that's maybe good that you're forced to do that because I know some guys that get really long-winded with it, so maybe that's kind of a inadvertent side effect that actually works to your favor. But it's definitely interesting. Every time you post one, I'm always like, okay, what's he saying? What's he looking at? And that sort of thing. Going back for a moment, I'm fascinated by this whole flavor thing for a moment. So, going back, you're talking about sweetness. I don't tend to normally get like sugary sweetness a lot of time. Typically, it always comes forth in some sort of a like a raisiny or natural kind of sweetness like that. Now, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's very obviously raisins. Other times it's not. And I've had, obviously people on that talk about dried figs, cherries, all sorts of I mean, people pull dried fruits left and right out of their ass. And
yeah, but that is definitely a common attribute in sweetness, like a dried fruit, because they have even like a black. I don't know if you've ever had black currant. They make a drink out here, like I think it's Guinness or.
I was gonna say I think I've had currant, but I don't know if I've had it like not direct. I mean, maybe in a drink of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, dried fruits. Yeah, if you're getting that, then that's just you being able to develop your palate and get some more specifics on where that sweetness is coming from, right?
Interesting. So we're talking about it, and you were saying that you went with Instagram, initially for the photos and that sort of thing. I mean, I say this, but I also say, dude, it's a shit ton of work, and maybe you should just keep it where you can handle it. But any thoughts of developing it out and going to like building out a website for yourself, doing something more? Or are you just looking to keep it simple and keep doing the Instagram stuff?
I've always thought I'd like to do a website, I guess, but right now the Instagram thing, the whole shadow banning, the whole cigar, the whole boot kick to the cigar world, like I was climbing. Not that listen. My intentions were to have 1,000 followers and getting random free cigars from manufacturers to try out. that was where I wanted to go, and I've done that.
There you go.
But it just froze. It just suddenly froze, and everyone I know that's in my world, no one's following you. No extra people following you because you're not out there.
Oh,
the people that may follow you is by suggestion, or so it kind of just halted as far as followers are concerned. But I'd love to make a webpage. It's just that extra time, right?
No, I get it, and to your point about Instagram, that I do find that fascinating because you're right. My Instagram was, I mean, dude, I was consistent there for a while. We had growth. We had, oh God, no. Sorry. I had I had an alert come up on my phone right as I was like, pressing to do this. And so anyway, I got to like, I don't know, 6,200, somewhere in that neighborhood, followers. And I have pretty consistently stayed in that ballpark. As I look right now, I'm at 6,177. And I can tell you, I mean, I have pretty much been at that range. Oh my gosh, it's been well over a year, since I hit that.
Yeah.
And they froze it, and you're done. And what you've got is what you've
strange.
got.
I think I was averaging probably maybe 5 to 10 added followers a week, let's say, which climbs just steadily.
Yeah.
And the past year, it's just been, I actually just posted something recently for kind of an experiment. Just, hey, tell your friends out there that no one's reaching out to me and I'm not getting out there on Instagram and have them follow me. And we're, I picked up a couple dozen followers and that's awesome because I have now new friends to follow. And
that is good.
That's the whole purpose behind it too, right? Is Instagram, like, I got you guys through a podcast, but through Instagram, I'm meeting people, talking about cigars, not talking about cigars, just anything that comes with the cigar culture, right?
Yeah, you build up that community, and they've definitely frozen that. I know, Nick Gervais over at My Monthly, he talks highly about X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. I personally, I have trouble getting into that platform. It's not as, I don't know. Maybe it's just not as user friendly to me. Maybe it's just one of those things. I don't know it as well, and so I'm kind of like, whatever, ambivalent to it. But He keeps saying
He's
that.
promised to talk to me about it.
He what?
He's promised to talk to me about it.
Oh.
We were discussing it not too long ago.
Yeah.
Just explaining, exactly what it is. The way I look at tweets, it's almost like a CB radio. Like you just putting out these comments or newscasts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not so much. I don't know. I don't even know if you can store it. Like a database. Like with the reviews, you can go back and I don't even know if you can. If that happens, where like I'll be able to see all my old reviews, or I have to get into it.
No, that's a good question. I don't know, and I also find the commenting on there to be really obnoxious. How you got to follow a thread, and I find following a thread of the initial comment and then the various replies and that sort of, I find that to be just very tiresome and obnoxious as well. And so just in general, I'm not a big fan of that platform. And so I really hope we don't end up getting forced over there. But to your point, Instagram and by default Facebook, they definitely seem to be forcing our hand that way. But I don't know. Hopefully not. So, anyway, so for those of you listeners who don't follow Luke over on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, go over and follow him. It's just, at mysticks35mm. It's a good review site. You'll like it. Trust me. Now.
Thanks, Nick.
No problem, Luke. What are you getting on your Oliva there?
It's good. It's a little stronger than Millennial V. It's kind of earthy, kind of minerally, toasty, bready. It's good. It's good. Good start. Very slow burning. Very good ash going here. How about? Oh, you already know what you're smoking.
Yeah, I just did a little retrohale there, and now you've got me questioning: is it pepper or is it not pepper? But it's pepper on the retrohale on this thing, for what it is. But
you know what I forgot to do when I was visiting? I forgot, and I made a promise to myself to just have a little review on retrohaling with you. I think if you can retro by percentage, right? Like you don't have to retro 100% of what you take in your mouth. Even less is good, right? Like as long as you retro is pretty important. But like, even if you retro like 10% of what's in your mouth, you're gonna get all those flavors. Maybe are you just letting go of the whole thing? Or
no, what's happening? So like when I make a general point of it, I usually let about half of it go, and then I retro the remaining half. And so maybe that's it. But there's a fine line where if I let too much go, then I don't get enough, and then I have to do it again. And then at that point, I do too much, and then I start hacking up along that way. So it's a double-edged sword for me. I can't win, but it's okay. People seem to enjoy making fun of me for my lack of ability to retrohale here.
We got to start. Your idea of making stickers. I remember you guys made a limited edition sticker.
Yeah.
You got to make one with it's like a portrait of you, but you can barely see you because there's so much smoke. Oh, sorry, I got geese flying over hard here. Sorry. The little bubble where you put what you're saying or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just cough. Kind of limited edition.
I like it.
Humidor sticker.
I like it. Limited edition. Nick hacking up a lung on a retrohale sticker. I like it. Mm-hmm. Nick, you got to get on that. Because Nick's the one who made the broke ass hose sticker, so that's okay. You gotta watch those Canadian geese, man. Those things are fucking mean.
Yeah, we're sorry about that.
I mean, it's not your fault.
Deeply sorry.
I'm just saying those things are mean.
Yeah, well, at this time of year, they're not mean. They're scared because everyone's out here. I mean, you get woken up. Everyone's hunting pretty good, but during mating season and stuff, you got no business going near the little ones, if you know what I mean, especially if you have little ones of your own.
I know exactly what you mean because I got chased by one of those things one time, and it was less than pleasant. So, yeah, I get exactly what you mean. Actually, what's funny, there was one time, I'm sure I talked about it on the cast. I was sitting out back at my place, and it was dark. I had the lights off. I was sitting out just having a cigar, and there's that pond out back of my place, and all of a sudden you just hear this massive splash, and I had no flipping clue what it was, man. I mean, did a deer jump in there? Was it Sasquatch? Like
Meteorite.
what was it? And all that. The next day, though, there were 4 or 5 of those big Canadian geese walking around on my back lawn. So I'm thinking that they may have made like a hard water landing at one point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. I mean, they call them Canadian geese, but I mean, some of them are. Obviously they migrate in winter and in summer in the States. That they don't necessarily all come up here. Where I'm at, I live on a small river. At the tip of Canada's penis, if you will, the urethral opening, and it's there's thousands.
Is Canada's penis is like kind of interesting as America's penis is? Because we've got Florida Man and all of his exploits, and you can even look up Florida Woman and there's exploits there. I mean, weird shit tends to happen in Florida. I don't know if you ever listened to it, but do
we have a Florida? Do we have that kind of Canada? There's parts of Brampton, I bet, near Toronto. There's an area in Vancouver that's interesting called East Hastings.
So you got like East Hastings, man?
No, Florida Man is like a global phenomenon.
Oh, dude.
We do it every year. When we go to Florida, we always look up our birth dates.
To see.
Your birth date. What happened there? So Florida Man, if your birthday is August 5th, whatever, and just see what happened there, Florida Man, and it's lunatic. It's never good.
There's a show, I think it's still on. I don't know. I listened to it back when I was in college, and I know it continued on for a long time, called Loveline. Dr. Drew, and at the time it was Adam Carolla. I don't know. I don't think he's on it with him anymore, but back when those two were on it together, they used to play a game called Germany or Florida, and they would like have callers call in, and the whole deal was they would say the headline of a fucked up news article, so something really random or bizarre that took place, and you had to guess, did this take place in Germany or Florida? Because they contended that Germany and Florida were the 2 hotbeds of the most wackiness in the world.
Wow. I do remember the show. I don't remember that. That's amazing.
It was a great bit. And to be honest, if I didn't, I would rip that off in a heartbeat, but I'm not going to because they probably have more lawyers than I do. So my nun to their whatever, it's just, but it's a good bit. I like it.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. My example of Florida is like Naples area, but Benita Springs area.
Oh, you're hanging out in the ritzy parts of Florida.
Yeah. So anytime we get out of there is when I get the full flavor. We were out just into the Everglades, heading to Miami, and we go into a Publix, and I almost asked him to take a photo of him, but I was just definitely afraid of him. There's a guy like from the bayou wearing a coyote skin hat, with the paws hanging out the front over his face, and he's just shopping. He's getting his goods, and I'm like, this guy is straight up just probably shops once a month, gets all canned goods, and just lives in the freaking swamp or something. Man, this is unreal.
That's awesome. What was that place you were telling me about? It was a grocery store, but it was also like a nightclub.
Yeah, Seed to Table.
Seed to Table.
Seed to Table. I'm not sure regionally if it's throughout Florida, but there's one in that area. And it's like, think of the nicest grocery store, very, very pro-Trump. So there's a cardboard cutouts of Trump everywhere. Trump wine. And there's a DJ. I mean, there's people go there to hook up. You can drink. You can drink whatever you purchase as you're shopping. It's like the most adult grocery store you could ever imagine.
Interesting.
It's like,
very interesting.
Very pro Trump.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, if you look it up, like their urinals have like a picture of your current president on them for target practice.
Oh my God! All right then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was just interested in the fact that they had a nightclub and a DJ, and that people were going to the grocery store to hook up.
You'll get 4 or 5 girls, all dolled up, and you think they're going to a club, but they're going to a grocery store.
Going to the grocery store,
Going to the grocery store.
When you go on these like dating things and they give you advice as to like, this is where you go to meet people. That you hear about the grocery store, but I'm always like, I'm not going to just walk up to some random lady at in the produce aisle and just be like, it's a wonderful looking head of lettuce you have there. I'm just not going to do that, but maybe it's seed to table. That's what it is. You walk up and you're like, that's a large cucumber, but I can beat that. It's, what the hell,
Yes. The eggplant you're holding makes me nervous. Let's go back to my place.
Let's go back to my place. I like your peach. Anyway. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, you'll have to, I don't know. I see around here, everybody goes to Destin, and Destin, it's commonly known around here as the Redneck Riviera. And now, with that being said, I've never been. I'm sure it's lovely. Pictures I've seen of it look very, very nice. Everybody I know that goes there, they love it. So I'm sure it's not like just trash. I'm sure it's very nice. But it's just around here, everybody calls it that. But yeah, I'll tell you,
north, like
it's Panhandle-ish.
North,
I believe it's like Panhandle, but it's off the Gulf, and I guess it's nice. I've
heard good things about fishing.
I will. Oh yeah, that's a big thing down there. Now I will say, when my dad lived in Fort Lauderdale for a time, I distinctly remember that on the local nightly news, they would track out like fights between like giant boa constrictors and alligators in the Everglades. Because I guess people would have these snakes and they would dump them in the Everglades, when they got too big or whatever. And so you would have these like epic titanic battles between these boa constrictors and these alligators in the Everglades. And the news would have the helicopter flying over and tracking it and watching it for a little bit. Oh, dude, it is totally a legit thing. It happens. And anybody who says it doesn't is lying, because I've seen it and it's awesome. It's like a Godzilla movie, but in real life, and it's in the Everglades, and it's fantastic.
I can say with 100% certainty that will never happen in Canada.
No.
Not at all.
It's way too cold for both of those critters up there.
It is. It's too cold for black widows, thank God. You're telling me about your black widow problem.
So yeah, okay. So let's transition here. So yeah, talking about the cold weather, smoking in cold weather is obviously something that, all of us cigar people, unless you are fortunate enough to live somewhere where you don't have a cold season, you have to contend with. And here in St. Louis, I do have all 4 seasons. And so I've talked on the show multiple times in the past about my ice fishing tent. And I have an insulated ice fishing tent that I have a nice, very, very thick extension cord running from the house into. The extension cord has three outlets off of it. So off the extension cord, I have my heater plugged in. I have a light, which I got a new light this year, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then I have my power strip so that I can plug in my iPad, in this case, the recording board, just kind of general whatever. And then that way I can kind of sit out here and operate. And I have not installed the fans yet because it's early enough that I can have, like right now, as we're recording, all 4 windows are open and the door is wide open to vent out the smoke. When it gets a little colder and I have to start shutting everything, I do have a couple of computer fans that I hook up to the vents, which actually, folks on the YouTube, you can see that's one of the vents. There's a second one directly across from that one that I have a fan that draws air in and a fan that draws air out, and so it creates a nice little channel of air across the top there, and good to ventilate this thing out. And anyway, so I got this set up today because weather-wise here in St. Louis, we're now at the point where we are hitting the high 50s for the highs. Currently, as we're recording, it is in the high 40s, and that's just too, with the wind, that's too cold to sit out and enjoy anything. Now, I could start a fire, sit by the fire, but I obviously can't do that while I'm recording. But I got out the tent today, And when I did, I remembered that that's right. I couldn't get it folded up enough to slip it into the little carrier bag this last season, so I just kind of jammed it into the storage unit. And then as a result of that, I guess some little 8-legged critters had decided that they were going to nest on a panel of the outside, and I unfolded it. I noticed there were some spider eggs, those little round, little balls of what look like cotton, but it's webbing, and everything. And I'm thinking, okay, I got spider eggs. I'm going to have to smash them and get them off of there. But I was on the lookout for spiders, too, because where there's spider eggs, typically there's spiders. And in this case, I did see one that was crawling in and amongst all the eggs and came kind of crawling in my general direction. It didn't, jump or anything like that. But I did get a look at it, and I saw that very familiar red double triangle pattern on its back. So I was like, oh, hi, Little Miss Black Widow there. And I ran inside, got my salt gun, and I blasted the fuck out of that spider. And
Yeah.
I mean, that spider is dead. D-E-D, dead. And blasted all the eggs, smashed the eggs as well. Took a very close look all around the tent to see if there were any more, and I did not see any more. However, there are pockets on the walls on the inside of the tent, and so I did not want to risk opening up a pocket and there being spiders in that. So I did get a can of Raid, and I just kind of gave each pocket a little spray on the inside. I don't really use the pockets at all, so it's not like there's anything in there or any concern about the Raid, but I wanted to zap them too. But now the nice thing is the inside of the tent is all black. The outside is red with a black roof, but the inside is all black, so it's very, very easy to see the eggs. It's very, very difficult to see the actual spiders. So that's where I'm thankful for my new light. I have a work light that hangs off the ceiling off a hook. And I don't know where I packed that up last year when I packed up my tent. I cannot find it. I found every other component of my tent, but I cannot find that light. And so I don't know what happened to it. But it was just a basic light bulb. I wasn't super thrilled with it. This one that I got today, it's a strip of LED lights. So I won't lie, it's bright as fuck in here right now because I have it aimed directly at me for recording purposes. But I'm going to hang it from the ceiling when I'm done, and I'm hoping that it kind of diffuses out a little bit more. But I turn the light off when I'm out here watching TV and smoking anyway because I don't want the light on while I'm watching TV. But it's bright, so hopefully with the extreme LED brightness I have going on, I will see whatever movement on the black walls and can take appropriate action. So,
yeah, you seem every year it seems like you're upgrading a little bit more and more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
get a secondary tent with a hallway. Different tents.
Dude, freaking Gervais last year,
he
got that giant tent last year. I mean, that thing's an apartment. But I know, I just bought the little 5 foot by 5 foot 2-person tent. I know people that have bought the 3-person and so on. Hell, Pinky has a 3-person tent from the same brand, and it's exponentially larger. In fact, in her tent, I can stand up fully upright, and my head doesn't hit the ceiling. In mine, my head will hit the ceiling, and I have to kind of slightly hunch a little bit when I'm in here. But just making that little bit of an upgrade, it's so much bigger and nicer. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with my little 2-person tent.
Yeah, we have them here, but we use them for fishing.
Who knew?
But there is a local restaurant that has. Have you ever seen they're almost like an igloo. They're almost like a semi-sphere geodesic clear tent.
I have seen those. There's a restaurant here in St. Louis that does those as well. And
Yeah, and I
don't know
mean,
where, but
they range heavily in price depending on the size. But you put a 220 heater in there, and you melt the snow off them, have the guys over, whatever you're gonna do, guys or girls, but yeah, over here, those tents, there's a reason there's a little flopping floor.
yeah, I do not have a floor. So for those of you who are looking at this, there is no floor. I'm just on my driveway, which I will admit the first year that I had this, I was still, living in my old house and I was on the deck. And so I put a painter's tarp down and that prevented air from coming up through the floor, which was nice. However, at the end of the season when I packed up the tent, it was nasty. It was really nasty. So I threw that thing away. And since then, I've just been on the concrete of the driveway. But I have thought that some sort of flooring would be nice for no other reason, just to insulate between the cold concrete and the inside of the
Even
tent.
like an industrial, like exterior foaming for a house, the pink stuff, it's about 1.5 inch foam.
Uh-huh.
But you might damage it though with the chairs. But you can put plywood over that if you wanted or whatever.
Well, I'd be more worried about dropping an ash on it or something like that and lighting it on fire.
Yeah.
I will say again, Gervais with he bought these like panels. They kind of snap together, and those apparently worked really well. I'll be honest. Every year that I put this thing up, there's no planning or forethought into it. It's basically like, oh, it's gotten cold enough that I need to put my tent up. Let's put the tent up today. And then I just pop it up and put it up. And after I do so, I'm always like, I should have thought about the flooring, or I should have thought about X. And so I make differences, but I'm fairly simple with mine. But that's okay. Like I said, some of these guys, I know there's at least one gentleman, he sets up an actual TV in his tent. He's got a big enough one that he sets up an actual TV in his tent and whatnot. It's a bit much for me, but that's okay. You do you, man. I don't care. So
that's awesome. Even those types of tents that they use for up here, it's very popular to go up north to go moose hunting or bear hunting in the middle of winter. Yeah, those big heavy canvases and almost a military style tent, and you can get wood burner stove in those bad boys.
Oh, that'd be nice.
You want to get totally pull a chandelier in the middle.
Nice. Just make a cabin out of it at that point.
Yeah, no doubt.
See, now the thing is, I have the tent, but in reality, what I really want, and I'm not going to do it here because I'm renting. It's one of those things where down the road, buy a house, have a backyard. I want a tiny house, not a big one, but I want a tiny house, and I want that to be my recording studio / smoking lounge, and just have a little
almost like
have a tiny house,
a glorified little hobby shed.
Oh, totally, man. But dude, I was talking about it on the last episode with Pinky. I followed this Instagram account that details tiny houses. Dude, some of these things are like mansions. Some of these things are gorgeous. I mean, I would straight up live in some of these things. I'd have to do a lot of purging of my stuff, but, that's okay. But, I mean, some of these things are just absolutely fantastic. But I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for just a basic little tiny house that I can have a permanent recording studio set up and a space for me to comfortably smoke all year round. Have HVAC, for both air and heat and everything. I'd be fine. It'd be great. I would love it. That's all I want.
That sounds amazing.
So what do you do up in Canada?
I freeze. I'll be honest with you.
That sucks.
I go outside. My smoking reduces dramatically during the winter months. I tend to collect more than I smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, I don't smoke. Like when I went down to visit you guys in Pulpit Fest, I mean that was me on high, man. I was maximum smoking. During the winter, if I smoke one a week, I'd be surprised.
Really?
It'd just be painful.
You just.
Oh yeah.
Now, didn't you just build a new pool house?
Yeah. I did, Nick, but I'm married.
So you can't smoke in it.
Oh, no. So the original plan was to kind of make a smoking area and I put all these fans in it, whatever. But I know, as well as anyone listening that's married, that the first day I smoke in this thing, it'll be the last time. So I'll make a special occasion. It's a nice pool house. It's all, so I don't want to.
I
don't want to, you know what I mean?
No, I do get it. I do get it. Do you smoke in your car?
No, I don't.
I'm just
very surprised because you let me smoke in yours and you smoke in it regularly. To be honest, I could barely smell any cigar in your car. I was blown away.
Dude, now that might be, but if you're not smoking on the regular, you may not be as odor blind as I am. I am very odor blind to it. Like if somebody gets in and they're like, "Woo, it smells like cigars in here," I'm like, I don't smell it. I'm odor blind to it at this point. But if you're saying that and you don't smoke on the regular, that's interesting. And if you're always smoking outside, you're not as used to the smell either, because But interesting.
During the summer months, it's a different story. But during the winter, like I said, I live on open farm fields, so if you get a good wind on in the middle of winter, there's got to build a little snow hut or something.
I was going to say, what I'm hearing is you need another little building or an insulated ice fishing tent that you can just set up and do this.
Yeah, we're considering. We make an ice rink every year.
Yeah.
So for the kids, so basically, the pool house turns into a area to lace up and warm up, and then you walk out into the ice. So it'd be nice to have it on the side, next to the fire or whatever, to have the guys over and have a smoke. But that's just another project. I just put a pool in. I've never grew up with a pool my whole life, so we put a pool in last year. So should have getting that done first, right?
So wait, so you grew up with a pool your whole life? You said?
No. I've never.
You did not. Oh, okay.
Huge project for me.
Well, and that doesn't surprise me, because I'm thinking, like, how much time do you get out of a pool out of the year in Canada?
Well, where we're at is not dissimilar to you guys too much.
Okay.
Like they say that Southern Ontario is as far as latitude's concerned. Latitude's concerned. It's somewhere around Portugal.
Oh, okay.
Look on the map. Like we're very south. Comparative. We're deep. Noah lives up in Wisconsin. He's way more northern than I am. He's more equivalent to Sudbury, which is, he gets a way worse winter than we do.
He and I were just texting not too long ago, just the other day, about he's looking at putting up a shed, like a permanent building that he can smoke in during the winter, and then during the summer it would kind of act as like a breeding facility for his snakes.
Surprise!
I know, right?
I thought of him immediately with when you say the black widows. I'm not sure if he's in this. I don't think he's in the spiders.
He's not. He and I were texting about that too, and he was straight up like, "You just need to burn it with fire and get a new one." So yeah. I'm like, I can't afford a new one. These tents aren't exactly like the cheapest. Realistically, I got a good deal on mine. I think it's gone up since I bought it, but I'm probably $350 or better invested into this thing.
And there's a big world of them. You get ones that are on sled systems that you hook on your 4x4 or whatever, and you go in the lake or whatever you're doing. You can comfortably put 4 or 5 guys in there and maybe a case or 2 of beer, and you're good.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If I'd have gone with a larger one, first of all, I don't need a larger one, because realistically, 9 times out of 10, it's just me smoking in here by myself. But
less the heat.
And that's the other thing. That was kind of what prompted this in the first place. Is I was using my garage at the time, back when I had a garage, and I had 2 problems with that. The first was the now ex-wife coming at me like, I can smell the smoke coming through the wall, whatever else. But then the other thing was, my little heater could not handle that size room, and I had to crack the garage door to vent out the smoke. And so that was just letting cold air in. The heater was like huddled up by my feet on full blast, and while my feet were nice and toasty warm, the top half of me was cold. And then, depending upon how close I was to the heater, dude, you can get space heater burns, and those things suck because not only is it like a sunburn, but it's like in the weird pattern of whatever screen is on the space heater. And so, speaking of the space heater, I'm going to kick mine on low at this point because I do have the door open and everything else going, but it's just a little bit chilly with the wind. But yeah, it's like you get that little bit of cool temperature there, and it's just, I don't know, the garage it just didn't work for me. So the tent, you know, in all fairness, I'll give credit where credit's due. Gervais is the one who said that he and his friends were toying with the idea of the ice fishing tent. He just never bit the bullet. I did, and once I did, then he did, and well, it's just kind of gone from there. But I was the test dummy, and it worked.
I always thought that these companies, is it Eskimo or Igloo, whatever?
I have an Eskimo. Yeah.
I mean, they're almost foolish not to make, not here, because I mean promoting tobacco here is, you know, you're the devil. But as far as the United States is concerned, you know, make a model specific for the smoker, for the cigar smoker.
Dude,
put a nice little, you know, put something on the side indicating the smoke cut. Put a ventilation hole where you could put, you know, where you have access to ventilation.
Yeah.
You know, they can go wild with this. There's demographic for that.
Realistically, they wouldn't have to do much in the way of conversion of the tent that I've got now. Realistically, if they would, for those of you on YouTube, you can see this. If they would, next to the vents, just put a little strap of fabric along the sides of the vents where it's sewn at the top and the bottom, and it's just kind of like almost like a handle, you know, next to them. That way, because right now I have to zip tie the fans to the little mesh, you know, netting that's on the vent there, and that mesh netting, it's very thin thread. If they would put like a nice little strap on both sides of that I could zip tie the fan to those straps and have that fan in place to where I'm not using that mesh netting for it, that would be literally all I could think of that you would need to do. And then you could just sell this thing and promote it that way. But yeah, if they want it,
Miller cigar pulpit,
dude,
you know, put your name on it, man. Put it like your hand signature on the tent, you know.
Oh yeah, kind of like
called a confessional.
It's your little confessional booth. I like it. But yeah, it does the job for me. I don't know. It I will say, when it is all enclosed, if you don't have the fans running, it gets very smoky very quick. So you got to have some sort of venting going on. But dude, I mean, I'm trying to think. Even when it's been below, like, there is a line. You can't go when it's like 20 below zero out here. That just gets to be a little much. But I've been out in it when it has been 0 or a little bit below 0, and you know, hoodie and sweatpants and shoes, you're fine with the heater on full. But with the heater on full, you can still open a window or two. And yeah, you might every once in a while, depending upon the wind in direction, get a little cool breeze coming in. But honestly, it's not that bad. It's just fine, you know? It's better than not.
Oh, of course.
Anyway.
As long as you cut the wind, right?
Exactly. Well, that's the big thing. More than anything, like, that's why I put it up today is, A, it's cooler at night, but B, you got to cut the wind. Cutting the wind is 90% of the battle, you know? So if you can cut the wind, it's just fine. Well, why don't we now, unless you have any more on this subject, do you have any more that you wish to impart on this subject?
No, okay. I'm following you.
Okay. Well, before I hit the button and go into something else, thoughts on the Oliva?
It's good. It's really good. It's burning a little quicker, but it's windy. It's picked up a little bit in strength, picked up a little bit in the baker's spice zone, if you will.
About how far into it are you?
Probably about halfway. It's a little short of maybe a Robusto size, but it tapered heavily, so it's probably quite a bit less tobacco when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's a good cigar, a very good cigar.
I did learn when you were in town that you are a slower smoker than I am, because I am a little bit past the halfway point on my Perdomo Habano Sungrown Churchill here, and this guy, I mean, this is not. I don't know if it's. I guess it's a full 7-inch, Churchill. I guess I don't know. I should have looked up the actual size of the cigar, but I didn't. But yeah,
people tend to smoke a little quick. I noticed in general. I mean, if you tone it down, especially for alone or just having a cigar, and you just concentrate, almost just for an experiment, almost set a timer where you're only really drawing in small draws at that, every minute or so. And you're keeping that ash super cool, and like in that double, a lot of people double, triple puff. They try to get this crazy red thing going to get this massive amount of smoke going.
Yeah.
And so that sometimes it's detrimental to taste, right? You get a little char, you get a little heavy toasty values. Where if you took your time and just little puffs, little bit of smoke, it really is a lot more delicate. I know. It depends on your circumstance where you are. I tend, if I'm having drinks and out at a buddy's house or whatever, sometimes I'll just make one disappear once in a while. That's just the nature of things. But if you try for an experiment, even toasting, when you toast your cigar, try just toasting it. Try not to. A lot of people tend to light the cigar while they're toasting it, or whether they'll heavily toast it, and almost blow on it to see that there's ambers.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, you've lit your cigar, right? So if you just toast it where you almost like it, similar to like how you like your toast, right? You just have that nice little glow, and then make sure your edges are all toasted. So when you do light it, you get that even burn. You'll find that the initial introduction of the cigar will be a lot more delicate.
I will have to experiment with that this week when I'm down in Florida.
This is homework time.
I was going to say, you're giving me homework. I like this. This is good. So, all right. Well, let's move on now. It's time for the Villiger Cigars Entertainment Report, brought to you by
Villiger.
Villiger Cigars, one of the leading cigar and cigarello manufacturers in the world, founded in 1888 and still family-owned and operated. Head over to VilligerCigars.com and check the store locator to find a shop near you that carries them. We guarantee that Villiger Cigars will be a wonderful addition to your humidor and cigar rotation. Now, you just did a review of a Villiger cigar.
I did. I think I've done 2 in the past month. I got it from the Pulpit event. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Renee.
Thank Renee. It wasn't me. Now, you did the most recent one was the La Creme, the Connecticut.
Yes.
You want to?
Yeah, good cigar. Definitely a more medium cigar, considering its outer wrapping. It's awesome cigar. No complaints. Yeah, Villiger was actually the first cigar I've ever smoked, long time ago.
Really?
In my 15 days. Yeah, Villiger was. I think maybe it's more common in Canada or something because of the. I don't know, but those little exports, they're like a little the original little square press cigars.
Yeah, I know that. Aside from the premium stuff that they're putting out and everything, I mean, let's be real, Villiger as a company, they kind of made their way with machine made and a lot of mass produced cigars that way. And I think a lot of people in Europe and maybe overseas and I guess Canada, maybe they know them more for that than perhaps they do for the premium cigar side. But yeah.
Yeah, good cigars. Very good.
Very
good quality.
Well, so what have you been watching lately? What have you been entertained by?
Oh, man. Well, you probably know I have 3 children.
Yes.
So other than what they watch.
I was gonna say, I've had a lot of Clifford the Big Red Dog and Thomas
Oh
the Tank
boy.
Engine
Okay,
this weekend, so you know.
mine aren't that young, but my oldest son is getting into horror movies, so we're starting to dabble with that.
Oh, okay.
He's an age where I don't think I'd have him watch Saw yet, but I think we're gonna watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space, stuff like that.
That's a good one.
Some mild, funny horrors, and then getting some Stephen King or whatever. But I'm, as far as entertainment, all I can offer you for myself is podcasts.
That's
That's all
fine.
I listen to.
Well, before we get into podcasts, so like, in terms of horror movies, I've always been a big fan of the old Universal monster movies, the Bela Lugosi Dracula, the Boris Karloff Frankenstein. I think it was Lon Chaney Jr. did the Wolfman.
Yeah.
I mean, they put out a set of those on Blu-ray. I mean, they always do them with every format, but they put out a set of all those movies. I love those movies. They're just fantastic. And then from there, I'm not a big slasher guy, so like I'm not gonna like I wouldn't. I'm with you. I'm like the Saw movies. I have no interest in the Saw movies.
Yeah, they have only one point. Like that's pure gore.
Yeah.
I don't mind the splashing a bit, as long as there's something behind it. Some fear.
Freddy versus Jason was fun. That was stupid and it was fun. But I'm not a fan of the Freddy movies or the Jason movies by themselves for the most part. I do want to see the new Exorcist movie. Now, apparently it's tanking in the box office, but I do want to see the new Exorcist movie because the first Exorcist, the original one, dude, that one haunted me when I saw that movie.
Oh, yeah.
The sequels
I watched that too young and I watched it alone.
Oh,
Yeah. I watched it alone, watched it too young. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it to you, man. I'll say I watched it. I don't know if I would say I was too young, but I did watch it alone the first time, and it was a thing. And then they remastered it and put it back out in theaters in I think I don't know 2001, 2002, somewhere in that time frame. And
yes,
they altered a few things to it, and oh my gosh, just those little things. Like it's like they put the statue from the beginning. I know I've talked about this on the show before. The statue in the beginning that the old priest sees in the desert. At one point when you're in the Reagan is the little girl. When you're in her kitchen and there's like a flash of fire, something happens. I don't remember what. You see in the shadow, they do one frame where they put the statue in the shadow, and you're like, oh shit, did I just see that? And it's little things like that they added that just it ramped up that movie so much. But anyway,
yeah, the addition of the reverse crab walk down the stairs.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, that made me uneasy. If my daughter did that down the stairs, I think
yeah, no. If my kid ever reverse crab walks like that, I'm like, well, I'm out. It's like
I'm no longer father.
Oh no, I'm not saying that, but it's like I'm out. We're gonna go and get a priest, and we'll come back. But you just hang out and don't hurt yourself in the process. But holy shit, man! But I do want to see this new one because it's got the mom from the original, and
it looks good. It looks even number 3 was pretty good.
See, I didn't like the sequels.
No,
it's kind of like
the new one does look good.
It's kind of like The Omen, the movie with Damien. The little kid that was the first one with. I think it was Gregory Peck was the dad, correct? I think.
Yeah, Faceman.
Dude, the first Omen movie is amazing. All the sequels sucked. And it's like, I mean, at one point, like Damien is played by, which one was it? Was it 3 that he was played by Sam Neill and he was like running for president or he was in politics and was doing something, and I don't think he was running for president. Man, I don't know, but the bottom line is like those movies just got so dumb, and but But the first one was so good, and I liked
That's
it.
a common equation with horror movies. You get even like Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah.
First couple are just absolute classics, absolute. Like the 80s to me was the pinnacle of horrors, whether it be like, the Dead series, like Dawn of the Dead or Return of the Living Dead or even like Fright Night, the cheesy 80s stuff.
Yeah.
You got to have some fear, some vampire, maybe definitely a couple boobies because it's the 80s.
Of course.
Right? And,
yeah. That's the thing. If you're having sex, you're going to die.
I watch so many horror movies. Yeah, that's the reason I watched so many horror movies as a child, probably. But
yeah, you probably want to screen them before you, Yeah.
Yeah. But nowadays, I mean, where the kids are watching, anyways, it's. I'm sure he's pretty much ready for anything.
I was gonna say, what are boobs these days, man? I mean, back when you and I were a kid, it was like boobs. Now it's like, I mean, for God's sakes, they have access to more porn in their pocket with their cell phone than you and I did at any point growing up.
We get a VHS tape, and that particular part would always be staticky because people would rewind it so much.
Yeah,
that's just a fact, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, the original Terminator. I can tell you right now. There's that scene when Sarah Connor's, having sex with John Connor right? No, not John Connor. They were conceiving John Connor in the running from the Terminator. It's like,
what kind of movies you watching, man?
Dude, the original Terminator.
Oh no! I thought you meant. Sorry, I thought you were getting into some.
No.
Themes.
No, it wasn't a spin-off porno. No. I mean, the original Terminator, man. Linda Hamilton got topless in that, and it was like, whoa, sweet, But yeah, that's the good old days when that was a thing. But anyway, so you were saying that you've been listening to podcasts.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember here the one I was watching. Actually, I was listening to this one on the way to visit you, Crooked City. It's called. It's about Youngstown, Ohio, about the mafia there, the mob, Italian mob scene. It was pretty interesting because there's an old. It was basically a steel town in Ohio that's kind of crumbling. So the mills are shutting down and the mob's involved. And as I'm heading to your house, they're talking about one of the main guys who breaks into. They were famous for breaking into bank vaults through the ceiling.
Okay.
And how he goes to maximum security jail in Terre Haute.
Terre Haute, Indiana.
And as they're saying that, I'm literally looking at the sign like "Welcome to Terre Haute," which is pretty hilarious.
Yep. That's right there on 70, right at the Indiana-Illinois border. I pass through it every time I go to Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one. And then I just finished one, Deep Cover. Super awesome podcast about an FBI agent from Detroit who starts off. It's one of those stories that start off like, he's basically trying to get this smuggling ring of mass marijuana coming in from somewhere in the tropics, and ends up coming to Ontario. So we're famous. The OPP, the provincial police, are famous for their Harley-Davidson golden helmets, they call them.
Okay.
The police on motorcycles. So he comes here because he has to infiltrate the biker gang. So he comes here to learn to drive a Harley. Ends up infiltrating the biker gang, and I don't want to wreck it because it's that good. The story goes so deep. It is insane. You will not believe the end of it. But
okay.
There's people involved that are like, I don't want to name the names to wreck it for anyone, but the people that are involved in this and where he ends up sourcing where the marijuana comes from will blow your mind.
So let me take notes here because you're spitting these out and they both sound interesting. So we got Crooked City,
Youngstown,
and then Deep Cover.
Deep Cover, the first season.
Okay.
The rest are very good as well. The second one you'd like is, I believe, the second one is about a mob lawyer who turns in Chicago.
Interesting.
In the early 80s. You'd like that one for sure. But the first one's mind-blowing. You can't see the end coming. It's really interesting.
Okay. All right. I'll check both of those out. I just found, and I've only listened to one so far, I just found that there's a podcast called We're Here to Help. And it's two guys. It's Gareth or Garth, I don't know, Reynolds, and Jake Johnson. Now, I say those names, and nobody's like, who the hell are these guys? Jake Johnson played Nick Miller on The New Girl. And I, for the longest time, I got into the dating scene, and, these women would find out my name, and they'd be like, oh, The New Girl. And I'm like, I had the name first. But I had to finally watch The New Girl because, this is a character with my name, and I had to know what to reference. And I don't know if you've ever watched The New Girl, but it's actually, dude, it's a funny show. It's really pretty good, and I enjoyed it a lot. And so when I found out that he had a podcast where basically the whole point of it is he gives advice. They give advice. They give advice on whatever the topic is, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and sometimes it's like you really shouldn't do this, but they give advice, and it's amusing, it's funny. I liked it, so I'm gonna be diving into that podcast here as I travel a little bit.
I will try that one out. I got to try the Playboy one you've been talking about.
On AMC, I'm sorry, not AMC. It's an A&E documentary. It's on Hulu. It's called Secrets of Playboy.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit, man!
That's an actual visual documentary.
That's an actual.
Podcast?
No, it's not a podcast. It's an actual thing on Hulu. You can watch it. Holy crap, dude! I am now through episode 9. I have 3 more to go. I have to take it in little chunks though. Because by the time you're done with 1 or 2 episodes, you just feel utterly filthy. It's just no, dude. It's gross. Like,
it seems like it writes itself. Like whatever went on there is probably level 10.
You realistically shouldn't be surprised by any of it, but I find myself being surprised by it because it's one of those things where we always, growing up here in the States, and I'm assuming you guys maybe get similar, if not the same stuff in Canada, Hustler and Penthouse, and those ones were the dirty, the raunchy ones, and it gets even raunchier as you go, but Playboy was always the girl next door, and the photos were artsy, and it had the articles that were interesting. And let's be real, there are some very interesting articles that were in Playboy, and they kind of always tried to make it sound like it was women's liberation to a degree, and that we're celebrating these women, and they're choosing to do this, and they want to celebrate their bodies and all this kind of dude. It was fucked up. They did some horrible shit to these women, and some of these women just didn't make it out, and if they did make it out, they're mentally fucked for the rest of their life. And just and Bill Cosby. I did finally watch the episode where it details what Bill Cosby and Roman Polanski and some of these guys were up to over Jim Brown, the football player, Jim Brown. Boy, he doesn't come out of this episode looking very good either. It's there's some.
You're right that they seem like all around women where they've usually had a career as well. Some of them, they've former Miss America, former. I remember Tiffany was in there, former rock star, and they're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to pose in Playboy as my finale of my career, make some extra cash, whatever they're doing.
For sure. I know in the 90s there were some of those pro wrestler women that got in there. There's all kinds of people that have been in it, and then there are people that made their careers with it. Let's be real. Jenny McCarthy and Pam Anderson, we wouldn't know who they are if it wouldn't have been for Playboy. They launched their careers with Playboy. And then there's the girls on the Girls Next Door TV show that was on E. They were the Hefner girlfriends, and they did just fine for themselves, for a little bit there. Now, you find out in the show that maybe they didn't do as fine off of that as you thought. They maybe did better. They built their brand, but then they were able to, after they left, go out and kind of exploit the brand that they built. But the show itself, I don't think paid them really that much at all, you know. So no, Hefner did a good job, kind of as this guy that you thought was. You know, I mean, let's be real. You kind of thought he was a skeevy old man. It's like, oh, you know, whatever. But you didn't. He seemed a little. I don't want to say harmless, but he didn't seem as harmful.
Yeah.
But fuck,
Well,
man.
he broke ground, right? He's a groundbreaker. He was
Yeah.
like all, you know, men's club, classy. Pamela Anderson, I think she's Canadian. She used to. She was in a publication here. We have a nudie book here, Maple Syrup Monthly. She was,
No, you don't. No, you don't.
and,
No, you don't. You're
okay.
making this shit up.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm making it up.
Oh my god. See, now I want to. Now I want to launch Maple Syrup Monthly. Just nothing but naked women covered in maple syrup. Oh my god.
Maple syrup advertisements. Yeah.
Oh.
That's one thing I forgot to bring to you. I get about 2 gallons a year from my family's from out east.
Yeah. See,
New Brunswick, Quebec.
we don't get the good stuff. We've got
You probably do. If you buy the canned stuff and it's 100%, you probably get the good stuff. But
okay.
I get it out of the sugar bush. I get it out of. I know the owner or the farmer, and it's like a mild. It's like a mild maple syrup. They've similar to cigars and wines. They depending on the bush, depending on, like you said, the season, the melt, all that kind of stuff. There's a variety of maple syrups, right?
Interesting.
I'll hook you up next time I come up.
No, that'd be
sure.
great. I mean, I do like maple syrup, so that would be great. Because, which, by the way, I do want to thank you. We did have the Kit Kat debate on the show with the Smoking Butts and Tap and Ash guys. And, yes, the Canadian Kit Kat was far superior to the American Kit Kat.
Yeah, it's the chocolate. I think I got a funny story for
100%
there.
the chocolate.
I used to work in a car wash, this little local car wash, and I was in college, and I would basically the guy at the booth would run the gas station, and I would like power wash the cars before they went to the car wash and all this stuff. And I got a phone call from the booth. He's like, you better get up here, man. So I closed the car wash, essentially ran up, and he had found a Kit Kat without the wafer in it. So
Whoa.
the Kit Kat went through the factory. Yeah, the Kit Kat went through the factory, and it was just the chocolate.
Solid chocolate.
Yeah, and this is my days of partying, so I'd like food an extra amount, if you will.
Yeah.
And
it was unbelievable. Kind of getting the munchies a little bit.
Yeah, some performance enhancing food medication. We'll call it. And it was so amazing to the point where like why don't they do this limited edition, no wafer, just pure chocolate? You know,
I don't know. Do they not have just a basic chocolate bar that Nestle puts out up there? Because that's the other thing. So Nestle puts out yours, and Nestle licenses Kit Kat to Hershey's here in the United States. So we're getting a totally different variation on it's similar-ish, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's like a Budweiser in Canada. It's not the same as your Budweiser. Yours is better, by the way, much better.
Oh, well, there you go.
But I think it's licensed here by Molson or Labatt's. And it's just not the same, yeah.
Have you?
They tried.
You've taken the tour, right? The Budweiser tour.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot to tell you my story about the 2 yard.
Oh,
it's too long for the show. We'll chat about it later. But
okay,
yeah,
all right.
We did the tour there. It was surreal. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just go through that and you see all the tanks and everything else. It's just amazing. But but back to your story. So you guys shut down the car wash to have chocolate.
To have this chocolate bar.
I respect that.
It was unbelievable.
I respect that. But so Nestle doesn't make just a pure chocolate bar?
They do most likely, but I really don't think it's the same chocolate. For some reason, the Kit Kat chocolate is obviously a different blend.
I just remember it being visually it didn't look like it was thicker on the wafer, but it was heavier and it felt thicker as you were eating it. It was a different type of chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And then here in the States, we load our shit with so much fake bullshit preservatives and fake sugars and this and that and whatever. I saw an article earlier today. It was a New York Times article. I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw it, and I couldn't read it because I'd already maxed out my free articles on the New York Times and I wasn't going to pay. But it was talking, the headline in the very beginning that I could read was talking about how people are getting concerned because here in the States, a lot of girls are going through puberty starting as young as like 7 and 8 years old. And they're like, what is causing this early development in girls? And what's so funny is everybody in the comments, almost to a T, almost everybody in the comments was like, it's the food. Like, it's what's in our food, people. And I have to agree. I don't know if it's the chemicals we're putting in everything. I suspect that the growth hormones we're putting into our meat products, that has to be impacting all of us. Because, I mean, dude, you can't be injecting these chickens to get these gigantic chicken breasts. You can't be injecting them with all this growth hormone and not expect that growth hormone's then going to not transfer on to the person that's actually eating the food product. I mean, that's basic, thought process there. So I don't know. Studies need to be done, but it is, I've noticed it as somebody who covers grade school and in turn high school, goings on for my newspaper. I've noticed that, it's earlier and earlier. I don't know exactly if it's taking place in boys. I assume it probably is. It's just not as noticeable because, let's be real, the boys aren't developing, breasts, but it's that's the
you're onto something.
Yeah, it's weird.
The Kit Kat syndrome, we'll call it.
Yeah, we'll call it the Kit Kat syndrome. Okay, well, I'm getting down to the final third. Well, I'm in the final third of my cigar, so that's a good time for us to talk about My Monthly Cigars. And, I don't have the button for My Monthly Cigars set, so we're just going to actually talk about it versus playing the Pinky ad. My Monthly Cigars is a premium cigar subscription service that you can get a box of cigars sent to your door every month. Come in two or three. I'm woefully ignorant. I don't know if he's still doing the one where it's like 2 cigars for like $20. But
the Corona, I think it's still on the site.
Is it still on the site? I know I get the Robusto box, which is 4 cigars for $30. He's got the El Presidente, which is 8 cigars, 2 of everything that's in the Robusto box for $50. And if you use offer code PULPIT, PULPIT, you get free shipping on the first box over there at mymonthlycigars.com. And it's just a good way of trying a variety of different cigars. You can try different, they come in different wrappers, different blends, different, they're just all different. And then that way you can kind of experiment around and see what you like and what you don't like. And then while you're over there, make sure you try the fucking good coffee because he's got that on the site as well. And you can get some of that going too.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. Not only is it a good value and everything, but he's got a good thing going on. He's good customer service. I would say I promote him because I'm essentially an employee of his, but I do reviews for him. But
I was going to say he posts reviews of yours on his website.
Yes, and the coffee's good too. So he's got two good things going, and like I said, good service and good. It's good variety pack because you're getting some premium stuff in there that you may not get elsewhere, and then you're getting some cigars that more or less like your value bundle type cigars where you can kind of try them out a bit, because the worst thing to do is buy a 20 pack of something and then realize it's not in your wheelhouse, and then you're stuck with a big bundle of something.
Well,
so,
yeah,
it's
and let's be real, a lot of those budget cigars you don't have the ability of buying just one to try it. They kind of because let's be real, shops want to make money, and they're not going to make money if they're selling $4 cigars, by the individual. They want to sell it by the bundle. And so by doing it this way, you can try those and figure out which ones you like, which ones you don't, and then you can buy the bundle. Because, we all need to keep our dollar cost average in mind. Nobody wants to be, spending a fortune on their cigar habit. So, no, it works out well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I guess this would be a good time to also mention the socials. I'm available on Instagram at the Cigar Pulpit. I'm also on Facebook, where we have the Cigar Pulpit Parishioners group. You guys can get in on that and post your stuff. And then Twitter/X, I'm on there, but I don't really do much of anything. YouTube, where you can watch this. And I do need your calls for Ask the Boys. Now, just a little show note kind of progress here, just to kind of key everybody in. So, obviously, like I said, this episode is going to drop on Tuesday when I am heading down to Florida to Palm Coast to hang out at Ash and Ale. And then Friday, there will also be another episode that I'm recording before I leave. That way, while I'm down there, I don't have to worry about editing and posting or anything like that. Then when I get back, you will have Tuesday and Friday of that week where it will recount the trip and interviews and whatever else I happen to get while I was down there. However, Tuesday, October 31st, so Halloween Day, we will be dropping an episode, and that episode will be Ask the Boys. So I do need your calls prior to then. I'm going to say that the deadline for this month is going to be, when should I say? Let's say the deadline for this month for Ask the Boys is going to be end of day on, I hit my son. Let's say end of day Wednesday, October 25th. So you have a little over a week after this episode drops to get your calls in. And you can call that number. It's area code 863-874-0000. And I'm going to throw this out here now as we have a little over a week left for everybody to get to it. There's going to be a little prize pack that I'll put together with some cigars and some fucking good coffee and get that sent to whoever has the best call of the month. So get your calls in, 863-874-0000, and you might win some cigars and coffee. And then Luke,
and I promise to partake in this. I've been dropping off as far as Ask the Boys. I've been slacking. I'm sorry, Nick.
It's okay. I mean,
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. You've called before. You're not like a regular caller necessarily. There are some people though that were just straight up regular callers that I haven't heard from in a while, and it would be nice to circle back. I mean, there's some guys that they would call all the time, and life happens. People move on. Maybe you don't have questions. Maybe you stop listening. I would hope not. But, it's just one of those things. But, no, people can get cigars and coffee this month.
Yeah. And on my socials, I got my sticks 35 millimeter. If you're out there in the Instagram world, follow me.
There you go. And, you should post those reviews if you wanted to. You could post them in the parishioners group,
Oh, I never thought of that.
I'm just saying. It's another avenue. It's up to you. You don't have to if you want to keep it exclusive to your thing. But you can feel free. I mean, that's the thing. The parishioners group's kind of open. The only thing I say in there is that you can't do cigar sales because that's a big Facebook no-no. But, anybody who's in the group, if you have something like if you're doing reviews or if you're a manufacturer who belongs to the group or a sales rep and you belong to the group and you want to promote something, maybe you're doing an event somewhere, and you want to see, put that out there. People can people can, post in the parishioners group. That is totally allowed. So, that's what it's
Okay.
there for. It's a way to branch out, put information out in the world. So, anyway. Well, Luke, final thoughts on your Oliva.
Oliva is just being completed. Just finished it. Good, really good cigar. Medium world, tasty. Definitely with Baker's spicy conclusion. Very rich, very oily, very sweet. It's got a dark sweetness to it, like something similar like a dark honey or wood honey, as you call it, or like a toasted honey, toasted sugar. Very good cigar. I like it. I think I might prefer the original blend. I don't know how different it is from the Millennial V, the just their plain model.
Yeah.
But I like it. It's good. Something different.
That would have been
cool
interesting.
by Toilet too. Cool.
That would have been interesting for you to have just a standard one kind of next to it and kind of. Have you ever done that? Smoke two at the same time to try and compare between the two?
Not really. That'd be interesting though.
That
for
would,
sure.
yeah, just to see the differences. Every once in a while, a cigar will come out that's kind of a variation on another one, and it's kind of fun to do that. But at the same time, you got to maintain two cigars at once, and that can get.
Yeah, you don't want to be driving. You know what I mean? At highway speed.
No, you definitely need to be sitting and chilling when you're doing that. That's not something you want to be doing while you're doing something else. But as for my Perdomo, I'm getting down close to the end of it, and the final third on this thing kind of ramps up. You get some of that Baker spice, but you also get some I'm going to say peppery spice. Now you have me questioning that, but, whatever. I'm going to say peppery spice on it, on the actual
I just say
smoking
that pepper
experience.
is a general.
Yeah.
Pepper is a general, pepper comes from somewhere. Just look into it, see if you can find out where it's coming from, and just for an interest sake,
Now, this one has been, bourbon barrel aged for I think 10 months or something like that. Personally, I don't really get the bourbon off of the smoking experience with it, but that doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means that, but I'm not a heavy bourbon drinker anyway, so it could be that flavor's there and I'm just not picking up on it because I'm not familiar enough with it. So, I don't know. But it's one of my standard go-to cigars. It's one that, whenever I'm doing something and I want a good cigar, but I want one that I don't really have to think much about because I just know it so well, I go to this one. And in this case, it was one of those things where, as I said, I had a full weekend with my son, and I hadn't really smoked at all because, he was keeping me busy, but then also at night, it was just too cold to go out at night and have one before I had the tent set up. And I wasn't going to start a fire just so that I could sit out and have a cigar, while he was sleeping or something like that. So I really didn't smoke it all this weekend. And so it was one of those things when I was deciding which cigar to do for this episode, I went ahead and went for that one.
Good choice.
For sure.
I find that when you stop smoking or you don't smoke for an extended period, that's when you're really going to get a lot more of the cigar, that specific cigar, right? Your palate's not overly excited from other cigars, right?
For sure, man. When I had strep throat, the first one I came back and smoked, the first one back from strep throat was actually an Atabey because I wanted.
Nice.
It's one of those ones where I was like, okay, I haven't smoked for a while. My palate is very fresh and refreshed. And so let's go for something that's got a lot to it, that, a little higher dollar, let's treat myself here as I return back to it. And, the Atabey, it's just one of those cigars that strength-wise, it's not a very strong cigar, but flavor-wise, there's just so much to it. And so I really wanted to experience that on a clean palate, and it did not disappoint.
Nice.
So, Well, Luke, I'm going to let you get to bed here because it is an hour earlier where you are at. And so I appreciate you taking time out of your evening to give me somebody to talk to for this episode.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all the followers out there. Thanks for the event and everyone who was involved. Dan and the name eludes me. The sports bar.
Oh, Top Shooters.
Top Shooters.
Everyone,
it was a good time. I had a great time meeting everyone. Finally meeting Noah, and it was great, man. I'll see you guys next year for sure.
For sure. It was a good time. Yeah, I'm still putting my plans for next year together, but I'm hoping next year's going to be a little different, but hopefully a little better. Not that this one was bad, but let's amp it up. Let's forward momentum with it. So.
Sounds good.
Anyway, well, guys, this has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm Nick.
And I'm Luke.
Everybody stay safe and stay smoky. Yeah, I'm definitely glad I put up the tent, man. It's like 51, but I've got a 10-mile-per-hour wind hitting, and it's feels like 47 outside. So that would have been kind of miserable without it.
Yeah, I'm hurting myself. I'm on the back porch. I got about a 30-kilometer-hour wind, and we're probably in the mid to low 40s now.
Gross.
I'm feeling it.
That's gross. All right, guys, take it easy.